you've been on the internet for any length of time recently, you've probably seen the live-action Snow White remake floating around on here. So basically, Disney decided to remake one of its oldest, most traditional, classic, and iconic animated movies ever, so that was all pretty cool. People went to go see it, so they all had very mixed thoughts and opinions on it. It was very, very controversial for a wide range of reasons, and I'm going to be talking about my personal feelings in this video. So, if that sounds interesting to you, then please stay tuned and stick around. Most of my videos I don't make scripts for, I just talk like off the seat of my pants, you know, and with my raw, unfiltered thoughts straight from my head. But for this video, I actually did make a script because it's kind of hard to remember all of my notes without having something to look at and reference, so if I do sound a bit like a robot, then I apologize. I'm very, very sorry. I know as a theater kid, it is always easier to sound natural and in the zone when you're just thinking off the top of your head and just like reading your lines from memory as opposed to out of your script, but yeah, I'm sorry guys. I'm gonna try to make it as fun and entertaining as possible, so let's get this thing started, shall we? Basically, one of the biggest controversies in all of this, and starting off with the elephant in the room, is the fact that Disney decided to make their main actress for the main character, Snow White, a Hispanic / Latina person. So usually this would not be a problem. I obviously am not racist, so I find zero issue with this in normal cases. Like, Disney loves to diversify their movies. They made The Little Mermaid live action starring a black female character, Halle Bailey, as The Little Mermaid Ariel, and I personally thought there was nothing wrong with that, but for Snow White it's a little bit different because like the whole entire point of Snow White's character is that she has hair as black as ebony, lips as red as rubies, and skin as white as snow. So making her be a Latina Hispanic character just sort of like undermines that whole entire principle. But whatever. I can 101% see why they chose Rachel Zegler, because there are lots of pros for choosing her. She is an absolutely beautiful, gorgeous young lady, and she has the most pretty singing voice ever. So she was definitely a strong choice, but I can definitely see why people got insulted and offended by her choice as well. But yeah, basically I sort of forgot a lot of details about the original movie, so I made sure that after I watched the remake, I went back to watch the original movie and just refresh my memory a little bit. And I guess Snow White was a Scullery Maid all along in the original one, but I feel like there was a lot more attention on that one particular detail and emphasis, and it just felt sort of unnecessary, to be honest. There was also lots of emphasis on the idea and concept of wishing in the remake, but I was like, was any of this really needed? Because in the original one, wishing obviously has a stronger meaning because Snow White uses the wishing well to summon the prince, her true love, but wishing literally does nothing in the remake, and I feel like Disney is just super obsessed with the word wish at this point. Like, they made a whole entire movie just based on the concept of wishes, so I'm just convinced that they are low-key obsessed with that word. There's so much inconsistency in the Evil Queen's powers in the remake. Like, they say that she can use her beauty as a weapon and she can charm anyone into doing anything for her, and this is shown because she literally gets Snow White's dad, the king, to marry her because of her beauty and her charm. But like, if this is really the case, how come she can't just charm the huntsman into killing Snow White? Because the huntsman does give her grace and spare her life, and I don't understand why he would do that if the Evil Queen was able to put him under a spell, you know? This isn't really a problem in the original one because the power is never really brought up, but it just seems like a huge plot hole and continuity error, in my opinion. As a theater kid, I do have ground to stand on here. I feel like the singing was really good, but the voice acting was like so iffy, especially especially for main characters. I feel like the side characters honestly had better vocal performances than a lot of the main characters did, but I mean, I don't really know. I feel like the delivery of the songs was very, very satisfying, but the lyrics themselves were like low-key cringe. I just have been saying this for the past like year in all of my videos, in my Moana 2 video and all of that great stuff, but I feel like Disney's songwriting department is just falling apart at it seems, you know? They are tossing all of their good songs out the window. In the remake, they tried to make Snow White into a much more developed protagonist by giving her a goal and a motivation, but at the same time, I feel like they gave her 0% agency. Like, Jonathan was right all along, because bro literally didn't do anything until she was forced to by the plot. Like, she just sort of hung around and waited on a wish. The whole entire song, Waiting on a Wish. Instead of just like going ahead and making the conscious choice to chase after the wish herself. Like, why was there so much waiting in this movie? I don't know. In the original movie, there was no search for Snow White's father, but I feel like the story works perfectly well without it, you know? I don't feel like it's really necessary. This is sort of a nitpick, but I really do not like Snow White's dress and hairstyle in the live-action remake. I don't know why. Something about the way that it just flares out at her hips unsettles me. I don't like the long sleeves. The colors are super duper saturated, which feels off to me, and the fabric, especially the yellow part, just looks super cheap. I don't know. As my friend said earlier, Snow White's outfit was bought from Party City with a badly done bob that makes an otherwise beautiful actress look ugly. I agree. The Evil Queen's outfit just has giant fake gems. I also agree. And Jonathan's outfit is giving main character in a medieval/fantasy movie wearing a modern day hoodie. Like, I could not agree more with any of these statements. The costume design is so bad. They need to just fire the outfit designer. Low-key. No redemption. No remorse. In the remake, I feel like they decreased Snow White's relationship with all the woodland animals so much. And I honestly thought this was fine because I did enjoy them developing the humanoid characters further, but I still liked how prominent Snow White's relationship with the animals was in the original one. In the original one, Snow White talked to the birds, she sang to them, and she had literal conversations with them, and it just made it seem so fun and whimsical, and I'm like, where did all that magic go, you know? I feel like this story is lacking a lot of the, like, magical vibes that the original one had. On a similar note, I feel like they just completely assassinated Snow White's character. Like, the original Snow White was so much sweeter and dreamier, and she was even more funny and feminine, and I know it's seen as like a stereotypical and outdated personality, and that women these days are expected to be really strong and independent female characters, you know? But I really don't think that there was any reason to change who Snow White is at the core, you know? In the remake, Snow White seems almost obsessive with being a just and fair person, but in the original one, it just comes off naturally, you know? It feels way too forced in the remake. In the original one, there seemed to be like a slight rhyming of the lines, which I really enjoyed, but this wasn't really apparent in the remake. And in the remake, Snow White has like absolutely zero self-awareness. Bro just breaks into the dwarves' cottage and goes straight to sleep. In the original one, she's a lot better because she just cleans the house beforehand and hopes that maybe if she does this favor and she helps the dwarves out a little bit, they'll agree to let her stay. But in the remake version, she literally just breaks in, like, low-key. The whole entire mining scene with the dwarves felt like it lasted forever and served literally no good purpose. Like, I genuinely think the only reason why Disney extended it for so long is so that they could show off their amazing CGI skills, quote-unquote, on amazing, for like 7 minutes straight. Also, I feel like the dwarf song was so much better in the original version. On a similar note, this movie stretched out so badly. The original movie was barely above an hour, but the live action movie is almost 2 hours long, and you can clearly see where they added lots of filler and useless scenes, because the original one was so much more fast-paced. The first 30 minutes of the remake were done in like 5 minutes in the original. The dwarves were a lot better in the original version, both in terms of character design and personality. In the original one, Doc stumbles over his words, which is real and relatable on a whole nother level. Grumpy has trust issues and a really big nose. Bashful's face turns red and he hides himself in his beard when he gets embarrassed. And Happy loves to sing and dance. I loved all these cute little character details in the original version, but in the remake, there was almost none of this, which made me really, really sad. And there were also a lot more visual gags and jokes in the original version. In the original, there's a scene where the dwarves beat up Dopey, and I know that this was probably seen as like rude or mean or maybe even ableist, to be honest, since I know there's something that's not neurotypical with Dopey. I don't know what it is, but I know he's like mute, he doesn't talk very much, but I don't know why they didn't keep this scene, because I felt like it was one of my favorite scenes. It's a good example of like scapegoating and the harsh reality of family dynamics, and I feel like it just gives a darker edge in a darker moment of the movie, you know, and adds a little bit more depth and dimension. In the original one, the dwarves are a lot more reluctant to accept Snow White into their circle, which feels genuine, you know, because it takes time to develop friendships in real life. But in the remake, I feel like they let her in like almost instantly, and it feels super duper undeserved, you know? The one thing I have to admit is that I really did enjoy having the romantic interest be Jonathan the thief instead of being the prince, because I liked that their relationship got to develop a lot more over the course of the story. In the original version, Snow White and the prince only interacted one singular time before Snow White died and he had to kiss her and marry her. And he was also 18 and she was only 13 in the original, which was like super duper icky for me, but I don't know. I swear Rachel Zegler's Snow White just gains random skills out of absolutely nowhere. With zero explanation, this girl can bake apple pies, ride horses, sing beautifully, and whistle. I'm like, how many things can this girl do? And how come we never saw her like developing these skills? It just makes her feel like she's a Mary Sue who can do everything perfectly, and it just feels super duper undeserved. Like that one kid who's always great at everything that gets you so freaking annoyed, you know who I'm talking about. It just makes her feel like that. One of the other big controversies was replacing the 7 men who were supposed to be the dwarves with CGI models, yet I saw a really short guy among the thieves. I'm like, Disney, why the frick would you do this, you filthy hypocrites? Because, oh my god, either go big or go home, but like, don't fire 6 of your dwarf actors to only have one of them play a random nameless side character. Like, that grinded my gears and got me so angry, because if you had one person play a really short character, then like there was no reason to fire all of those men and get them to lose their jobs. Like, that felt so undeserved, you know? The love song was literally so cringeworthy. Like, words cannot describe how much I cringed at that. They tried to make the remake seem intense, quote unquote, but it just was not working for me. There were several moments where they were doing stuff like, one scene in particular, they were all dancing outside of the dwarves' cottage right after they escaped from the guards. I'm like, aren't you all concerned about the guards seeing you and hearing you dancing and singing in the middle of the forest? Like, this does not seem like a good idea. The stakes were literally on the floor. At least in the original version, they were inside, so the guards wouldn't have been able to see them. I was genuinely confused, like, what is the theme slash message of this movie even supposed to be? Is it that women are supposed to be strong and independent leaders? Is it that we all should unite together to defeat a common enemy? Is it that good people should always share with those in need? Like, I literally did not know. It was so inconsistent, and it was sending me mixed signals from all directions. The apple scene was so overly dramatic in the remake, and that lasted forever for literally no reason. In the original version, the queen plays her role as the beggar woman a lot better than she does in the new version. Like, she changes her appearance obviously in the new version, but her voice sounds just the same. I'm like, don't you think even if you changed your appearance, she would recognize you by your voice? Like, Gal Gadot does not change her voice at all when she becomes the beggar woman, which just sort of threw me off. And also, in the original version, she has a much better plan. She gets Snow White to genuinely believe in what she's saying, and she tricks Snow White into thinking that the apple is enchanted. And she tells her that her greatest wish will come true if she takes a bite of the apple. This was actually one of my favorite details because it created a temptation moment for Snow White. Her own flaw, which is her lust for the prince, is what tricks her into eating the apple. Basically, if she did not have this lust for the prince, then she wouldn't have ate the bite of the apple in the first place, and she would have survived. But they removed this from the remake, and I'm like, why? Giving Snow White a relatable, realistic flaw is like one of the best things you can do for a character. So why would you take that out of the remake? I genuinely don't know. But whatever. Once again, the queen's powers were so inconsistent in the remade version. Like, why couldn't the queen have just used her powers to charm the guards into killing Snow White? I don't know. It makes zero sense, but whatever. And the Evil Queen's defeat in the remake was terrible. It just seemed super duper lackluster and anticlimactic. Basically, they got her to be trapped in a mirror, but in the original one, the dwarves all chased her up a mountainside, and she tried to send an avalanche down onto them, but the rocks rained down onto her instead, which led to her own traumatic downfall. I don't know why they got her to trap herself inside of a mirror. It just seems like they repeated what they did with Magnifico in Wish, which seems lame if you ask me. But yeah, basically those were all of my notes about the Snow White live action remake. I'm sorry if this video was super duper long and boring. I tried my best. But yeah, here are all of my major takeaways. Basically, my favorite character in the whole entire movie was the Evil Queen, because she was the only one who really stayed true to her original form, and she had no major changes. She was just a genuinely evil character, which, I mean, I respected. That's the way I like them, you know? More power to her. Gal Gadot did a really good job with her acting, and I think she slayed, you know? I think the movie was pretty good overall, but it just felt so disconnected from the original one. Like, these movies don't even feel like the same thing to me. They feel like two totally, completely different universes, you know? I feel like in terms of actual content, I'd rate it a 7 out of 10, but in terms of staying true and expanding upon the original story in a respectful way, I'd have to rate it like a 3 out of 10, because it just absolutely did not respect the original subject matter, which I think is pretty sad, you know? We like to see movies that expand upon the original in a respectful way. You know, the only positive thing that it added, in my opinion, was Jonathan, because I really did like him and I thought he was a positive addition to the movie. But other than that, I thought it was pretty bad. Like, they literally could have removed some of the iconic things like the poisoned apple and the mirror on the wall. They could have changed her name to Ruby Rose or something like that, and it literally could have been a whole new different IP, you know? It could have been a whole new original movie, because it literally just does not feel like Snow White. But whatever. If you guys watch this movie, please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Leave your rating 1 through 10 and some of your thoughts and opinions. And yeah, I hope you all guys all had an amazing time watching this video. And if you did, please make sure to like and subscribe, because it always helps me out so much when you do, and I really appreciate it. It helps to boost my YouTube channel into the algorithm so that more people like you can see my videos. and it also helps you to stay tuned and get notified every single time that I post a new video, so you will never miss out on a single upload. I, unlike most other YouTubers, upload videos multiple times every single week, and I upload shorts multiple times every single day, so no matter what, I can almost guarantee you that you will always have something fun and interesting to watch, and you will never be bored. This is not my usual type of content. I am an artist, so usually I do drawing videos, but I'm going to be doing a drawing video about Snow White where I draw Rachel Zegler Snow White and I draw the traditional Snow White, and I compare and contrast the two character designs. So if that sounds interesting to you, then just wait. I should have that done in a few days from now, so that'll be pretty cool. And yeah, but I cannot thank you guys enough for your support. If you want to take your support from me a step further, then please click the links in the description box down below. Those will take you to my other social media accounts, including my Instagram, Pinterest, Roblox, NaNoWriMo, and other social medias. I just recently started a Grubs account on Instagram if you want to go follow me on there and see all of my amazing food pics. And if you subscribe to my artist Instagram account, you will get to see all of my pictures as soon as I finish drawing them. So that is pretty good. Usually there's a delay because it does take me a long time to edit YouTube videos, but all of the content on my Instagram account is fresh and new. So yeah, I hope that you all guys all have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next video. Always remember that I love you, and goodbye, eat more waffles, and peace out.